Revision Fitness.
Let's change the way we look at it.
To contact me to book a speaking event, email me at tylermerren@gmail.com or call me 269-207-3000.
So, Tyler, I am going to introduce you as a three-time Paralympian and a person who's going to share with us how you and the people you have worked with have created kind of you and your story. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Tyler.
Awesome. Thank you so very much, Leanne. I'm super excited to be here with you guys and share with you a little bit of my story and to teach you about seeing the champion within yourself and how we truly are better together. So as I stood on the medal stand in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, I felt the weight of the medal hanging around my neck. My mind and my body just exhausted from days and weeks of competition, the months and years of training that led up to this. And as the flags began to raise up and the anthem began to play, I felt the electric charge of the crowd around me and just the energy crackling and just the excitement of it. And I thought to myself about the events of my life that had brought me to this point. I mean, when I was a kid, I was not tagged for success. My parents had a specialist tell them that their son was essentially going to be an invalid when he grew up and would need 24/7 care. I was never the first kid picked for any sports team. I was the kid who couldn't catch a pass in a pickup game of basketball. There were always people who doubted what I was capable of doing. And yet here I was on the stage of one of the most prestigious events in the world, winning a medal for the United States. How did I get to this point? And I stepped back and I started to think about the ways of seeing that champion within yourself. And there are 5 things that I want to share with you today. I want to take you on a little bit of a journey with me. And there are 5 verbs, and I'm going to expand on these as we go. But I want you to think about these 5 verbs and, understanding a verb is an action, right? We're taking action with these. The 5 verbs that I want to share with you as I go through this story are look, take, decide, develop, and seek. So rewinding the tapes all the way back to the beginning, I was born on a farm in Southwest Michigan. I take that back. I was born in a hospital. I grew up on a farm in Southwest Michigan. And I was, first son to my father. I had an older stepbrother. My mom had a previous marriage and, so blended family. But my parents noticed something about me that was a little bit different from my siblings as we were growing up. They started noticing things that were a bit odd. When I would talk to people, I couldn't look at them directly. I couldn't look at them straight. My eyes would always shift to the side. When it got later at night and we had challenges with going out and playing, like, when it started to get darker, the other kids could still see pretty well, but like I would lose any use of vision right away. I would come out of my room and I want to go out and play. I'd come running through the living room and I'd smash into something and knock it over. And, I was a pretty rough kid. So like, it didn't matter to me. Like, oh, Mom, I knocked that over. I'm going to go out and play. And, I just take off. And my parents are like, why is this kid tearing up our furniture? This is really weird. Right. So they decided to take me in and kind of figure out what was going on. They took me to a specialist, and the first specialist said, it's not a big deal. He has an underdeveloped retina and he'll grow out of it. Not a big deal. Well, my parents weren't really satisfied with that, right? They were like, this kid's tearing up our furniture. What's going on? We need to get a second thought on this. So they took me to another specialist, and specialist number 2 had a little bit of a different story for them. Specialist number 2 said, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but your child has an eye condition. He will eventually lose all of his vision. He'll need to live in a special home. He'll need to go to a special school. He'll need 24/7 care for the rest of his life. Now, my parents were hardworking, average people. And this was something very heavy for them to carry. They had fear. Okay. So our first step in finding that true champion, seeing that true champion within yourself, is look beyond fear. This diagnosis weighed so heavily on them. My dad tells me that, coming home from this trip, and I was just little, right? I was 3-4 years old. He said that he had to just pull off to the side of the road and pause and just breathe and think for a minute. Like, he was just so overwhelmed by this. He has these aspirations in his mind of his firstborn son being a star quarterback, and now he's being told by a specialist that his kid's going to essentially be an invalid. And it was a lot. It was a lot. They had fear of what was going to happen to me and what they needed to do as parents. And let me clarify, when I talk about this first step of seeing the champion within yourself, look beyond fear, I'm not talking about the type of, heart pounding, somebody just jumped out at you and scared you type fear. Like my daughter loves to do that to me. She likes to jump out and scare me, and it drives me crazy. Like, dad no likey, dad get angry. So I'm not talking about that kind of fear. That's the good run away from things with sharp teeth kind of fear. The fear that I'm talking about is that kind of gut gnawing doubt that we sometimes face. And maybe you know what I'm talking about, that kind of fear that's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not qualified for this. I'm not good enough. I'm going to fail, right? That fear of failure is something that they felt very heavily at that moment. But my parents did something at that time that I thank them for to this day. They looked beyond that fear. They decided that they weren't going to allow that fear to make those choices for them. They said, let's give him the opportunity to do his best, to grow and try and do things. So they put me in a regular school, and thankfully God's blessed me with a modicum of wit and intelligence. I was able to keep up no problem in school. And my dad said, hey, we've got work to do on the farm. Let's do chores. I was expected to do all the same chores that my siblings did, right? And that was good. They expected me to figure it out. And though there were some challenges along the way, we adapted, we figured it out. When I would play baseball with the neighborhood kids, instead of the regular baseball and bat, they'd give me the big Nerf bat with the beach ball, right? So we adapted a little bit, and we looked beyond that fear to make decisions for my life. And I don't want you to walk away from this getting the wrong impression that it's this picturesque, like we always made these good decisions. There were times when I unfortunately allowed fear to make decisions for me. When I was getting a little bit older, I was in middle school. I loved playing basketball. We always had a basketball hoop in our driveway. I was always shooting hoop. I loved handling a ball. I tried out for the middle school basketball team, and I actually made the team. I enjoyed it, but I struggled a lot. And there was one practice in particular. I was going down the court, and I was starting to lose more vision around that age. I was going down the court, going for a layup, and I lost the hoop. I couldn't find it. And that's a problem, right? In basketball. That same practice, I'd been hit in the face twice by missed passes. And I just said, I just can't do this. I'm done. I got to quit, because I was afraid of being put in the game and failing in that aspect. I was afraid of hurting my team and failing them. The athletic director for my school later, there was a newspaper article about some things that I was doing, and they interviewed him, and he actually brought this story up, and he said, this was the one kid that I've ever had that I didn't know what to say to him. He brought this situation to me, and I couldn't convince him to come back and play. I allowed that fear to make decisions for me. And there were other times that I failed at that too. I didn't want to be different in middle school. And some of you maybe can relate to this. Some of you teachers, you parents, or if you're a student, you might relate to this. You don't necessarily want to be different. I didn't want to learn how to use a cane. I didn't want to read Braille, right? Like, I don't want to do this. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of being different. but we can't allow that fear to make decisions for us. And what happened to me, I had a friend of mine, a mentor in a sense, a little bit older than me. He was in college. I was in early years of high school at this point. And I called him up one time and I asked him just, hey man, how's it going? I was just kind of chatting with him, and he was like, hey, I'm on campus. I'm going to a concert. I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. So where's the concert? Where are you going? He's like, I don't know. I'm out trying to find it. And I was like, what? Wait a second. So you are going to this concert somewhere randomly on campus. You have no idea where you're going, but you're just wandering around. He's like, yeah, man, it's a concert. Like, you can hear it. I can hear it. I'm just going towards it. I know there's a concert. I'm going to check it out. And I was like, well, what if you get lost or something? Like, aren't you worried about that? And he said something to me that just, it sticks with me to this day. And he said, you cannot be afraid to get lost. You can't be afraid to get out there, because if you allow that fear of being lost or getting lost to prevent you from going out, you're going to miss a whole lot of things in life. And as he's telling me this, he runs into a tree branch and starts swinging his cane around and yelling. And I was trying not to laugh at my head. I was like, hey man, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm good. Okay, I got to go. I'm going to go find this concert. And like, so he did. And it was great experience. And that stuck with me. And you know, that idea of don't let fear decide for you. And that takes us to this next point. You know, my friend taught me that you can't let fear decide for you. And what he did is he took that next step and literally the verb take, okay? Taking full ownership of the situation, taking full ownership of your life. So, you know, as I got a little bit older, again, vision was decreasing. We moved from the farm, quote unquote, into town, right? Where into town was, we had one stoplight, literally, like everybody says, yeah, one stoplight. That's literally what we had. And I moved from an area where the houses weren't a mile apart, but they were 300 yards apart. We lived on a street where cars went very fast, and pretty much I was at my house. Like, I was kind of trapped there. I had a friend who came over and visited me. So this is a different friend, another mentor, again, better together, right? We are sharing our experiences. My friend comes over and he's hanging out and he's like, so what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. We're kind of stuck in the house. We want to just play some video games. He's like, no. He's like, what's downtown? I was like, well, not much, but we can't really get there. He said, why not? And I was like, well, I don't know. And he's like, all right, cool. Get your jogging shoes on. Let's go. And we did. We ran as far away from the street as we could, stayed on the edge. We jogged 2 miles into town and just had a really good time with it, right? I showed him like, hey, there's the ice cream shop and there's the dollar store. There's, I guess, not much else here, but you know, it was a lot of fun. And what I learned from that is that the second step to seeing that true champion within yourself is taking full ownership. The first, look beyond that fear. Don't let fear decide for you. And the second is take full ownership. I decided then and there that I wanted to learn how to use a cane and learn to read Braille, because that was something I was going to need in life. And here's the nutshell concept of this. Nobody is going to take success for you. You have to take it for yourself. Take full ownership of your situation and own who you are as a person and what happens in your life. Do not allow your circumstances to dictate and put you in a box, right? And once you are in that position where you're saying, okay, I'm going to take full ownership of my life. I am going to be responsible for who I am and what I become. The next step becomes decide. Okay, well, decide what? The great Henry Ford was quoted to say, whether you think you can do a thing or whether you think you cannot, you're right. and essentially what he's saying is, it's up to you what you're capable of. So that third step to seeing the champion within, to bringing that champion out, is decide that it's possible. Uh, I'm going to share a joke with you guys, and it's a really corny joke. It's not very good, but I would appreciate some laughter because my ego is a little fragile. So yeah, so here we go. So there's this airport, right? Really small airport. This plane's about to take off from this little airport. And it's, I mean, just a puddle hopper, right? 24 passengers or so, not even a jetway. Everybody's kind of making their way up onto the plane, getting settled in. And once everybody's settled in, the pilots come on board, and both pilots are wearing thick, dark sunglasses, and they have long white canes, and they kind of tap their way into the cockpit and they close the door. And all the passengers are looking around like, funny, we get it. Blind pilot, very good. Well, the engine kicks on and the plane starts to take off down this runway. And at the end of this runway, there's this huge lake, right? And so this plane is picking up speed. It's going faster and faster, but it's not taking off, right? They're just picking up speed. They're driving straight towards this lake. And the passengers are kind of looking out the window like it's getting closer, getting closer. And just as they're about to smash into the water, everybody starts to scream. And then the nose of the plane jerks up and the plane takes off. And everybody's just a little chagrined. They're kind of looking around like, they got us, you know, and they're kind of, everybody's taking a sigh of relief. And well, up in the cockpit, it's quiet for a minute. And till one pilot says to the other, you know, one of these days, they're not going to scream soon enough, and we're going to end up right in that lake.
Okay, you've got laughs in the chat there.
Okay, good. All right, cool.
Good one. Good one. Very
feedback.
good.
It's a bad joke, right? It's a corny joke. But I tell that joke because, listen, I know not one, but two pilots who are totally blind. I know two pilots who own their own pilot's licenses. They fly their own planes. They have a co-pilot that flies with them, reads off their instruments. The co-pilot doesn't fly the plane, they do. Now, before my silly joke and that fact that it just dropped in your lap, I bet there's a percentage of you here who didn't think that you could be a blind pilot. I mean, it's a joke, right? Like, this is an automatic assumption, like, blind pilot, you can't do that. Well, as soon as you decide you can't, then you can't, right? But once you come to the point where you say, I think this is possible, that's when the door starts to crack open. And finding that true champion within yourself is deciding that it's possible. Now, I'm not going to have people raise their hand in the chat. You don't need to date yourself on this if you don't want to, but some of you maybe know the name Roger Bannister. Now, Roger Bannister was a medical student from the UK, and he lived in a time, in the 1950s, 1940s, 50s, 60s. He lived in a time frame when the idea of running a mile in less than 4 minutes, a sub 4 minute mile, was basically considered physiologically impossible, right? There had been studies written there. People had tried and tried and tried, and nobody was able to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. And he didn't think so, right? He said, despite what everybody says, like, if it was to be done, it'd have to be these perfect conditions, just the right temperature, no moisture in the air, flat clay track, no, thousands of people watching. He didn't think that was the case. And he trained himself in a somewhat unorthodox way. And in May of 1954, on a cold, rainy day with just a few thousand people watching him, he ran a mile in 3 minutes, 59.6 seconds. And it's such a cool story to watch. You can actually watch some of this on YouTube, and it's really neat. The announcer kind of lays out after his race and says, with a final time of 3, and then the crowd just went crazy. It's such a cool video to watch. But the thing about his story is that just 2 or 3 months after he broke this mold, and it turns out that a person can run a mile in less than 4 minutes, somebody else did it. A year later, a few more people did it. Roger Bannister himself went back to break his record 2 more times. Today, don't misunderstand me, running a mile in less than 4 minutes is still lightning. That's fast. But we have many people on record today being able to do it. Now, you can talk about, footwear and track composition and things like that, but really, what's the difference between now, when we have many people on record doing it, and pre-1954? The main difference is people know they can. That really is the difference. When you know you can do something, it becomes possible. Look beyond the fear, right? Take full ownership and decide that it's possible. When I was in middle school, early years of high school, I learned this lesson through the experience with my peers. We are better together. And what I decided at that time is that I wanted to do it all. I wanted to be an elite athlete. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to go to school and get my degree. I wanted to work. I wanted to open my own business. I wanted to be an upstanding member of my community. And I decided I was going to do all of that. And that's what leads us into number 4, develop. Okay, so my alarm went off at 4:30 in the morning, and I got up and I did my absolute best. My wife and I had just been married a very short time at that point. I did my absolute best to stay very quiet because waking up my wife and or my son was essentially a death sentence that early in the morning. So my alarm went off at 4:30 in the morning. I gathered up my stuff, got my breakfast, and headed out the door. Pitch black, winter cold. I made my way over to my high school. It was my senior year of high school. And I went into the gym. I got into the fitness center, got changed, got in my workout, did all my stretches, my lifts, my exercises. I hit the showers afterwards. And the worst part of the whole experience, you would think my alarm going off at 4:30 was the worst part. No, it was after the workout when I'd get the shower, hit the button, and I'm pretty sure I'd get hit with a couple of blocks of ice before it starts spitting a mixture of water and ice at me. But it was the worst. And so I would get done with this process. And by the time I'm done, I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic, right? Like I'm ready to go. Like all the other students are wandering in their pajamas and a cup of coffee in each hand. And I'm like, top of the morning to you. Like they hated my guts. Like I was so chipper at that point. And I did that like my entire senior year. So what is this about? What are we developing? Okay. We're developing positive habits. I have a poem that I want to share with you because this really resonated with me when I heard this. It says, I am your constant companion. I'm your greatest helper or your heaviest burden. I will push you onward or drag you down. I'm completely at your command. Half the things you do, you might as well turn over to me, and I will be able to do them quickly and efficiently. I'm easily managed. You just need to be firm with me. Show me exactly how you want something done, and after a few lessons, I'll do it automatically. I'm the servant of all great men, and alas, of all failures as well. Those who are great, I have made great. Those who are failures, I've made failures. I'm not a machine, though I work with the precision of a machine, plus the intelligence of a man. You can run me for profit. You can run me for ruin. It makes no difference to me. Take me, train me, be firm with me, and I'll put the world at your feet. Be easy with me, and I will destroy you. Who am I? I am habit. See, what I figured out about seeing the true champion within yourself is that you do need to look beyond the fear. You do need to take full ownership of your life, and you need to decide that it's possible. But from there, you need to develop the positive habits in your life that push you towards your goals. And that takes us to the final stage of seek. And so what I did is I set those goals and I started creating these positive habits. I worked out regularly. I trained myself. I went to school. I did all of those things. And I accomplished so much because of setting up these positive habits and making these decisions in my life. And all of the things that I had accomplished, I had traveled all over the world. I had been part of multiple Paralympic Games. I had won a junior national championships and national championships. Most every tournament in the circuit in the United States, I'd won multiple gold medal finishes in other nations, gotten my college degree, gotten my career started. There was just one thing that I was missing. There's one piece of the puzzle, one final step to seeing that true champion within that I was missing. And in what I thought was the final stage was a Paralympic gold medal. See, I had won a bronze medal in Athens in 2004. We had taken 4th place in Beijing in 2008, so we'd missed the medal stand. Leading into the Rio Games in 2016, I'd been playing on the USA team for 15 years, and here was my shot. Our team was doing very well. We had qualified at the World Championships. Our team was working super hard, and we were ready to roll. And I thought, this is my shot. This is my last chance. I am going to go and capstone all of these successes with a gold medal. So we go, and the tournament, the Paralympic Games, are the top 10 teams in the world, right? You have to qualify to go, and it's split up then into 2 5-team brackets. And the first thing you do is you go through a round robin. So you play against the other 4 teams in your pool. So we started our competition. We won a few games, we lost a few games, but we did really well. We ended up second in our pool. So we passed the first round, right? We're in the quarterfinals. We draw a quarterfinal match against Team Germany, and we beat them by 1 point. The final score was 8-7, just barely. We made it. But here we are. We're in the dance. Here's our top 4, right? We're 2 games away. I'm 2 games away from that capstone of winning a Paralympic gold medal. Now, our semifinal match we draw against Team Brazil. Brazil was by far the team heavily favored to win the tournament. They had scored more goals and allowed fewer than any other team. They were the previous world champions. They were on fire. They're on their home turf. So it was an unfortunate drop for us that we got them first. But the morning of the game, we got up, we went and we got our breakfast. We went to the gym. We got taped up, padded up, suited up, warmed up, ready to go. We go to the tunnel, and we're standing in the tunnel. Team USA is on the right here. Team Brazil is on the left, and we're kind of hyped up. We're rolling our shoulders. We're getting ready. But Brazil is fired up. They are stoked, right? They're banging on each other's shoulders. They're getting fired up. They're doing this like tribal chant kind of thing. Like it was just it was intimidating. I'm not going to lie. Like it was pretty intense. And they're ready, right? We do the march in, and there's 6,000 people in the stand that blow up and go crazy. There's 5,996 Brazilian fans and like 4 people waving USA flags. Yeah, USA. Like it was their crowd, right? We got in and we started the game. Whistle blows, let's play. We absolutely trounced them. We almost mercied them. It was the biggest upset of the tournament. We beat them by a score of 10-1. And after the game was over, I gathered up with my guys in the middle of our side of the court, and I said, listen, guys, I love you. You guys did awesome. This is amazing. I don't know if we're going to make it out of here alive. There's some really upset fans here, but we're going to do the best we can. They were amazing. The whole crowd, the nation was awesome, but we did it, right? We did it. We're in that final stage. We are at that point. And so we get up the next morning for our gold medal match against Team Lithuania. Team Lithuania, also previous world champions, very, very well-known unit. They have been fighting for that Paralympic gold medal themselves for a number of years. We get up in the morning, we have our breakfast, we go to the gym, we get taped up, padded up, warmed up, suited up, all that stuff. And we go to the tunnel and we're ready to march in. And we got Team USA on the right here and Team Lithuania on the left. And we're kind of rolling our shoulders. We're getting hyped up. Now, Team Lithuania, they're not chanting. They're not really talking. They're looking straight ahead. They're set. They're in a line. They're not moving. I'm not even sure they're breathing, to be honest with you. Like they're soldiers, right? Like that was their focus. They were razor edge focused. And that in itself was almost more intimidating than the tribal chants, but it was incredible. We march in and the crowd is electric. Everybody's excited. We do our introductions and we get warmed up and the whistle blows. Final match. Last time that I had ever planned on wearing a USA jersey, last chance at that gold medal, and the game is on. We're scoring some goals against them. They score some goals against us. Penalty happens here. Time out there. Halftime, we switch ends of the court. We're fighting back and forth. Another goal here, another goal there. And we just fought tooth and nail to the last minute. Whistle blows, game over. And as I stood on the medal stand in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, feeling the weight of that silver medal around my neck after losing that final game, I realized that seeing the true champion within myself, there was something more to it that I had to figure out. Because I didn't accomplish what I had set out to accomplish at that point. And I had to wrestle with this idea of, am I a failure because of that? The last step to seeing the true champion within is seek greatness within yourself. What I came to realize is that it's not really about the accolades. It's not really about the color of the medal you wear or the plaque you receive or the title that you get. Like, don't misunderstand me. Those are great things. And those are great things to reach out for. But a true champion isn't always necessarily the person on the top of the pinnacle, the top of the medal stand. A true champion is somebody who seeks greatness within themselves and gets up every morning and says to themselves, I am going to be better today than I was yesterday. I'm going to seek greatness within myself. I have a challenge for you today. I want you to think of a challenging thing in your life, something that maybe you have some fear about, something that has been weighing on you, maybe for a short time, maybe for a long time. And I want you to think about looking beyond the fear. Don't be afraid of that failure. Don't be afraid to get lost. I want you to look beyond that and decide for you what you want to do. I want you to take ownership of that situation. Only you can seize success. Only you can make yourself successful in that. I want you to decide that it's possible for you to achieve. Only you restrict yourselves. It's your life. It's your mind. It's your decision. I want you to form positive habits in your life that push you on towards those goals. And ultimately, I want you to seek greatness within yourself. It's not the title that's important. It's not getting that gold medal that's important. Seek that. That's okay. But first and foremost, seek greatness within yourself. I shared with you how I had mentors in my life who came alongside me and helped me to turn those corners and to learn these principles. And truly, when you see the champion within yourself, when you develop these habits, when you go through these steps, we are better together. You will also help others do the same. I appreciate your time and thank you so much for listening. I'm really excited to be here with you guys, and I'm happy to take any questions, thoughts, comments, and I'm looking forward to interacting with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tyler. I have to tell you, inside the chat right now, you are getting such a storyteller. Thank you, thank you. Awesome message. An inspiration to me today. Thank you for your message. Very encouraging. Lots of laughs from your jokes, of course. You are an inspiration.
Cool. To contact me to book a speaking event, email me at tylermerren@gmail.com or call me 269-207-3000.